Welcome to NJL, a Black Nerd Podcast. It's your girl, Cherry. I know you all know we have been MIA for quite some time now due to COVID and life and stress and everything. But recently I was digging through the crates and I noticed that I had a recording that I hadn't released for episode 92. We had a special guest, Fred. He was awesome. And I wondered why I hadn't released it until I went to listen to it. And it turns out only half of the episode got recorded. So there are only 24 minutes to this review. But I thought it would be a disservice to Fred and to you all not to publish it. So the following is the first half of episode 92. I've not been able to locate the second half, but I thought you all might enjoy it anyway. And without further ado, here it is.
The Negro Justice League.
Hi, welcome to the Negro Justice League, a Black Nerd Podcast, episode 92. I'm your host, Cherry.
It's your boy, Jay.
And today we got a special guest back in action. It's like his third or fourth episode, maybe. We got Fred, a.k.a. Two Hand Fred.
It was good. Thanks for having me back.
No problem. I know people listening to this show will probably be like, how the hell did he get that nickname? But I'm not gonna tell you. You're gonna have to join us in the Discord if you really want to know why we call Fred Two Hand Fred. All right. So this episode we're gonna do some news as always, and then we're gonna cover Judas and the Black Messiah and around the 7-minute mark. That might be a little ambitious. It might be a little later than that. And then Malcolm and Marie around the 30-minute mark. Spoilers. Judas and the Black Messiah, if you have cracked a Black history book, you should know how that ends. Malcolm and Marie doesn't have an ending. I don't think this is really spoiler. I'm not going to say it's spoiler free. We are going to discuss the content, but I don't think there's a lot going on here that you shouldn't already know. Mm-hmm. In my opinion. But like I said, you can skip to Malcolm and Marie probably around the 30-minute mark if you want to do that. All right. News. Mortal Kombat dropped the trailer for their new film. I think overall it was pretty well received. Like, this is probably the most money I've seen put into a Mortal Kombat film. It looks good. I know there were some issues, people talking about like specific things. For one, Jax has his metal arms, and there's some back and forth as to whether or not he should have metal arms, how he got the metal arms. Looks like it was like a Sub-Zero thing, and he lost his arms, and now he has metal arms or whatever. So that was a thing. A bunch of fatalities in there. I think it looks good. I'm excited to see it. I'm not gonna get too deep into just the trailer, but we will be looking for that later. Moving on, Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams are working on a solo Superman film. Not 100% sure why, but this will be like our third Superman reboot in the past decade or something like that. Like it's getting excessive, but yeah, that's happening. Obviously, since they brought Ta-Nehisi in, he's one of those writers. They bring in Black writers when they want Black characters. So the assumption is that they are going to be doing the Black Superman. And there's some speculation that Michael B. Jordan is at the top of the list. I think I've said somewhere, whether it was on here in the Discord, whatever, I don't want to see Michael B. Jordan as Superman. And I love Michael B. Jordan. But for some reason, we're getting a Black Superman that's probably going to be woke given the writers. I'm not sure. I honestly, they want that Black Panther money at the end of the day, but this is ridiculous.
Yo, how mad will fans be if we get a Superman movie that's the exact Superman movie everyone's ever wanted, and it's Black Superman? Like, if you get the Superman movie that makes the like $1 billion, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's based on woke Black Superman.
That looks like that's the direction we're headed in. I feel like they're trying to make their own Black Panther, and they chose Superman to do it.
Well, there is a Black Superman. in it. So
I mean, I mean, he exists. I'm just saying, I think that's what they're going for. Because, DC's MO is to copy whatever the hell Marvel does. And Black Panther made a ton of money. And being black and woke is really, in vogue right now. So I think that's what's happening.
That's disgusting. We're in vogue.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be Michael B. Jordan, though. I mean, he's got to actually film Black Panther 2. And, I don't think it'll be him, but he's on the list.
DC's just all over the place. They confuse and exhaust me.
All over the place. All right, we got a lot of news. Jay,
speaking about people all over the place, PlayStation did the State of Play on last week, Thursday, I believe, where they basically showed a few trailers and gameplays of some of the games that are going to be coming out on the PlayStation 5. There was a game called Sifu, which is kind of based on what if you had to deal with a whole floor of fighting people, but every time you died, your character aged up until it game over. The new Final Fantasy remake Part 2 is going to be coming out this year. They showed that, and they also showed that the Final Fantasy Part 1 will be coming to the PlayStation Plus. Is it? I don't know how it's called again, Jerry. Was it PlayStation? Plus. Yeah, it'll be coming to their free games next month, so that's going to be pretty big news. And they did say that they will be producing or will be having a lot more stock of the PS5. So, again, good news for PlayStation fans. Other than the fact that Call of Duty basically said they have no way of doing games on a PS5 that's going to be less than 600 gigabits. So, y'all figure that out.
Not my problem.
Right. Also, the NBA is investigating in their G League racist remarks against Jeremy Lin being called coronavirus and some other situations. This is in the time right now where we're having a lot of issues with Asian American attacks. So Jeremy Lin, who obviously has been one of the highest Asian Americans in the league, unfortunately, is kind of the face of this right now and what's been going on in the league. So, more on that, but hopefully, Jeremy already made a statement, said he's not going to name names, but, he's just hoping for things to get better. D'Angelo is going to be doing a Verzuz tonight, and he's so amazing that he doesn't even go against anybody. It's D'Angelo and friends. So I'm hoping to see, some people said that Maxwell will be there, maybe Lenny Kravitz. It's going to be at the Apollo tonight around 8 or 9 p.m. Knowing D'Angelo, that's probably 11. But as someone who's a huge D'Angelo fan, I can't wait to see what he can do at the Apollo. Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak will be. Is it Paak or Paak? I always get that wrong.
I don't even know who that is.
You don't know who Anderson .Paak is?
No.
It's because he's not trap music. That's right. So Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak are. They announced they will be joining and creating a new group, and their album will be called Silk Sonic. I would say that that's really fun to know about, but since Sherry don't even know who Anderson .Paak is, I don't know if she would care. Maybe Fred would appreciate it a little bit more, since that sounds like it's going to be real funkadelic type of, sound. So, and Bobby Shmurda, he's out. 6.5 years, he's out. He's doing the shmoney dance all over these streets. He's wearing his mask. I appreciate it. He's trying to practice social distance while everyone. I've seen pictures of Bobby Shmurda, and all he looks like is he really wants to just go and take a nap, but people just keep on taking him everywhere to show that he's free. So shout out to Bobby Shmurda. Hopefully he'll finally be able to get his hat back. Jerry?
All right, we good. We right on time. We are at Judas and the Black Messiah. All right. If you don't know, Judas and the Black Messiah is a story of Fred Hampton's, I don't want to say brief. That sounds really messed up. But his career as a Black Panther, which was not as long as we'd like to have seen it. I know I, as a kid, studied Black history deliberately, and it was part of my upbringing. And so I was very well aware of who Fred Hampton was and what he did and what happened to him. So I was really excited to see this because he was one of my favorite figures in that time. But I think a lot of people online really had no idea what this was and what was happening. And they were just excited to see a pro-Black Black Panther movie and didn't realize basically how it's going in. Like,
you mean like every other pro-black movie usually ends in America?
Yeah, but I mean, I like from the receptions that I saw online, people didn't know what they were watching until they were done watching it. So me knowing going in what it was, I was really reluctant to see it, even though I really, like Fred Hampton quite a bit. I didn't know that I emotionally felt like reliving this, but I'm glad that I saw it. How do y'all feel? I know there's some issues. There's been some continued issues with this, with Harriet, with a few other things, with British actors playing African American heroes. Do y'all have any feelings for or against Daniel Kaluuya being cast as Fred Hampton?
I don't know if I have feelings specifically against Daniel Kaluuya, mainly because some of the British actors we talked about have said negative things towards Black Americans or our culture, and then they end up taking these roles that are very important to us. Specifically, Harriet is a perfect example of that. Daniel has always, from what I've seen, been OG cool, and I'm okay with the best actor having the role in this situation. I don't know who else could have done a role like that, who would have been unknown. I don't know any current really famous American Black actors who could have really give it kind of the gravitas that you need.
Gravitas. Yeah,
the only thing is maybe I would have liked someone who was closer to the age of actual Fred instead of being, 10, 12 years actual senior at most.
That's where I was going to go. Daniel Kaluuya is our age, give or take a year. So this boy's in his early 30s. This man is in his early 30s. And Fred Hampton died at 21. And so I think in general, actors are usually older than the characters they portray. And in general, it doesn't matter. But I do think in this particular situation, it would have been significant. It would have had more significance if we had had an actor that actually looked like they were in their early 20s, because that what always bothered me about his death was that he was so young. It bothered me that he died so young, and it bothered me, not bothered, but I was just really impressed with how brilliant he was for his age. Like, so those are two things that are, impacted by age, and I don't think that came across watching the film. Because nothing about Daniel Kaluuya looked 21, especially since he was heavy. He was thick in this film. And so he looked
on his
every bit of 30-something. And so I do wish they would have found a younger actor for this.
And I know we're going to talk about Lakeith, but that's the same kind of issue I had with Lakeith. O'Neal was supposed to be 17, 16 when he was first found by the feds doing his thing. So with Lakeith again being our age playing this, it takes away a little bit from the importance of the story. But yeah,
because these people are grown. Like at the end of the day, yes, they're legally of age, but a year ago they were teenagers. Like, they're not grown, and so what happened to them is a huge. It's a huge governmental conspiracy type thing for practically children to be involved in. And I think we miss that message when our actors are too old.
Perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, usually I probably wouldn't make that big of a deal about the age thing, but you're right. In this situation, the fact that they were so young and doing things that were so forward thinking is a part of the story. So when you change it and give it to someone older, I had to keep reminding myself, oh yeah, and he was 21, because it didn't come through on screen. It just looked like an older person making moves with race, and that's very far away from what actually happened.
And that happens, I think, with like Martin Luther King too. As a child growing up, you always think Martin Luther King just seemed like an adult, like he was maybe 40, 50. And then you get older and realize he didn't make it out of his 30s, and you go, well, damn. And that's part of that is because when you're a kid, everybody seems older. But another part of that is the way he's portrayed. You sometimes miss the youth.
Right.
Yeah. I think that happens with Jesus too. Like, true. I'm just about as old as Jesus ever was, and you don't really feel it until you look on paper and go, "He's 33," and then you hit 33 and you go, "Oh my goodness!" That's it.
Part of me wants me to feel like, especially like you said, because it's movies and everything like that, they always get who's better for the role, and sometimes that's older. But the Hotep in me feels like they do this when it comes to our Black heroes or our Black stories, the same reason why they think a 13-year-old boy is a man. Like, they age up what we were fighting for from a young age. Like, oh, you know, they had, you know, Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X. You had someone like Columbus Short playing MLK. And you don't realize when they're especially talking about these younger stories about these guys, they were 23, 24 years old with these full-on movements. And they were years into their career, decades, at 32, 31. And the U.S. government decided to kill them because any farther that they would have lived would have been hard for this country. And I think that's something that I don't know if I want to blame it on Hollywood, but in the back of my mind, I feel like there is something about that.
Yeah.
Age aside, I think this movie, especially even in the first few minutes, I think they did an excellent job of showing why Fred Hampton had to be murdered, essentially, like why from the U.S. government's perspective, because they really very quickly and very easily got into basically him being, you know, an adamant socialist, really being for the people and like all of the people. Not black. Yes, he's pro-black, but he was pro everybody. Right. And he was uniting everybody. And he's out here trying to feed people and put people in houses and do all the things that you would think a country, you know, a rich, beautiful nation like the United States would want to do, but that if you're old enough and understand what's going on, we can't do. And so I think very early on, they did a great job to me of showing, okay, this is why they want him to go.
Yeah. And it's funny because you can go.
I was just going to say, I would have liked maybe if they would have shown, because they had Daniel playing him looking so older, it would have been nice to see how Fred was doing this since he was 12 years old. Like, he did a decade of work and he died at 21. I would have liked to see some of that instead of maybe some of the other things we saw in the movie, which were important. But I think this movie didn't always feel like it was.
But this movie wasn't about him.
Which I feel like.
It was never about him.
It felt like that was how it was portrayed to me. Or that's what I wanted to see.
Judas and the Black Messiah. So really, this is Bill O'Neill's movie. So we're not going to go back into Fred Hampton's childhood because it's not relevant to the story. Like, this ain't a Fred Hampton biopic. This is, you know, Bill O'Neill's betrayal, essentially.
And the FBI's COINTELPRO situation, too. Kind of, I feel like it was focusing on the fact that there were, you know, so many informants and so many informants who were used to undermine what the Black Panthers were doing. So I feel like it highlighted the way that the FBI used them and how much attention they were giving to trying to break up the movement.
Right. And I think.
So go ahead.
Part of the age thing. What I think if they had shown Bill O'Neill at the age that he really was, I think it would have shown us that he too was a victim of this situation. Like, yes, what he did was despicable and you want to hate him. And, you know, he is wrong, but he's also very young, also caught up in, you know, some government stuff that's way above his pay grade and, you know, not necessarily fully aware of the potential consequences of his actions. I think I don't think this movie did a good job at all of really showing that he was also a victim of the system, even if he was, you know, the antagonist to Fred.
Right. And it's one thing that's really important that I found really interesting is how much he was being used, because he didn't even really know the terms of how long he was supposed to be there or what he was supposed to be doing. It was very open-ended, like you're just giving us information. And you saw it multiple times when he would say, hey, he's in jail, I should be done, or I'm out. And he would think that, you know, he had some control over how long he had to keep doing it. And I forgot the FBI agent's name, but he would tell him, like, no, you're not done. Like, I'm not finished with you. So that was a huge part of what I noticed as far as his victimhood. And again, not excusing what he did, but, you know.
Yeah. You can be both the victim and the villain at the same time. And that's kind of where he was. Like, he was dead ass wrong, but it's bigger than him. And he was really put in a situation, you know. I think that being said, I think Lakeith Stanfield did an excellent job as an actor. Being like that creepy, double-sided, like you can see something in his face, something's wrong, but you don't know. Like, I think he did a really good job of just portraying that he was never, ever comfortable, ever. Like, he always looked really uncomfortable in every situation. I think he really did a great job of portraying that.
I think this goes into Lakeith's portfolio of he's a really good actor. And I know because Lakeith just personally is such a weirdo, and some of the things he's done on social media and some of the films he done kind of makes people want to typecast him as, oh, he's this weird guy, Atlanta weird. But he is a really good actor, because there were points in this movie where even with knowing the story, it almost felt like it was going to change in some ways. Mm-hmm. You can see him having this internal battle with himself when I guess he really started believing in what the Panthers were doing, or at least believing in Fred and how to handle that. Because you were right, even in this movie, I don't know I forgot how long the time period is, but it can't be more than a few years at most. Mm-hmm. He would have been the same age or a little bit older or younger than Fred. Mm-hmm. And if I was 17, caught up as a little black boy by some just regular police officers, and they told me either you going to jail or dying from the death penalty, or you got to spy on whatever local gang is in your neighborhood, am I going to act like I wouldn't have said something or been a part or tried to do so? He was really good at making me know that I should hate him, but also feeling really bad about the situation he was in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree. Caveat, y'all noticed that most of the people in here was on Black Mirror too? Did that stay out at all? Lakeith got no, not Lakeith, but Daniel does, and the other dude. I was thinking Lakeith was, but he wasn't. He should be. Why?
You're talking about who played the agent.
Yeah, he's got
Jesse
that Star
Plemons.
Trek episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I just brought that out. So I want to talk also about Dominique Fishback. We first saw her in that Jamie Foxx movie, right? Wasn't she in it?
Mm-hmm. She played the
teenager girl.
Yeah.
So I think she was one casting, or arguably the only casting, that looked age appropriate. I don't know how old she is, but she looked like a student, and I think they did a good job of casting her. And so I read somewhere she plays Deborah Johnson, who was Fred Hampton's girlfriend. I always knew growing up Fred Hampton was murdered in his bed with his pregnant girlfriend. I knew that. That was all I knew about her. And so I think they didn't want to include her in this story. They just wanted to include what I just said, pregnant girlfriend in the bed. She, as an actress, fought for that love story to thread throughout the film. And I think that was a brilliant decision, and I really applaud her for that. Because had that love story not started earlier and we seen it grow, what they did to him in the end would not have been as impactful to me.
Yeah, she's 29, by the way.
Yes, she looked like she's 20. And if you're going to be 29, cool, but you need pick people that look like children.
Right.
She looks so young to me, and because of the Jamie Foxx movie, I felt like she was underage.
18, she looked like a child, and that's as it should. She looked appropriate,
and she made a right decision. I know Deborah had parts of the movie to make sure things were done correctly, and certain things weren't just exaggerated necessarily for the movie in certain parts, but she did a really good job of showing why Fred, especially in his later years, was the type of person he was, the type of words he used, and why, she was a very big part of that, which is important.
Yeah, I was going to say,
a lot of times in these movies with black men, they have the women in there, but they really have them as a backdrop, and that takes away from what these women really did in their own terms.
That's absolutely true, because these men ain't out here doing this stuff on their own.
I thought it was dope that they highlighted the fact that she was kind of intent on focusing him, like saying, he was going out there and just talking, and she was saying you should try to write, you should try to be more intentional about what you say. So I really appreciated the fact that they highlighted that, because then that shows you her contribution to who he was and what he was doing. But I also felt like it was cool that they focused on their relationship so much, because then it kind of gives, I guess I'll say a kind of a stationary position to show how, Fred Hampton going to jail and then coming out, and then you see her being the one who's waiting for him all this time. It kind of gives some kind of a frame of reference for how much the FBI, I guess, caused so much trouble in his life and kept trying to push him around, because you could see how upset she was every time it happened.
And it humanizes him and anchors, because it shows you that he's not just an activist. He is a young man with, a relationship and a baby.
Right.
And so that makes, the ending, which is the last thing I want to talk about, that much more impactful. I didn't realize they were in a house full of people. I always thought it was just like an apartment deal, and then him and her. I didn't know that like a bunch of people got shot. It was really just, you can't watch it and not be pissed. I can't. I wasn't sad. Like a lot of people cried and are upset. I wasn't sad. I was just really just angry. I've been angry about this for most of my life. Like, it's mad.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. And like you, I knew about this for a while ago. Like my father would always tell us about COINTELPRO and how they used to target black people. Target not just the Panthers, but Martin Luther King.
Unfortunately, that is all we have for episode 92. So I want to thank you for joining us and remind you to subscribe to us in iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Google Play, and more. Follow us on Twitter at Black Nerd Cast, CAST as in podcast. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Negro Justice League. Check out negrojusticeleague.com. There's always new merch and whatnot updated there. And follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Black Nerd Cast, and do not forget to rate and review us. On the next episode 93, we will be covering Eternals and The Witcher Season 2. And I'm Cherry, and this is the Negro Justice League.
The Negro Justice League.